Hi everyone. Are you ready for card number 2 for the week of December 7th? On my previous video for card number 1, I told you we were going to be doing an anniversary card, a wedding card, and a masculine birthday card. So today we are doing the wedding card, and I think I've told you before that I belong to a swap group that there are 11 plus myself, and every month by the 6th of the month we swap cards, and there's never a theme or anything. You can just do whatever you want. And I received this swap 2 or 3 months ago, and I kind of liked it, although I'm not a really big fan of green. It's not my favorite color, and definitely old olive is not my favorite. But I did like the card. I thought it was pretty, and I decided that we were going to try and do this one, but I was going to kind of switch it around and make it my own and use a color that's a little more pleasing to me. So I decided to go with the light green, which is called Mint Macaron. And it's just a color of green that I like a little bit better. I kind of turned it around. The original one was done portrait. I did this in landscape, and then I did an envelope like so. And then I also, the envelope is lined with, this is a retired vellum paper that I'm trying to use up a lot of my retired stock. So this is a card we're going to work on today. So for the card, we're going to be using only one ink color. We're going to be using soft suede. The framelits dies that I used were actually the Ornate Layers dies, and I used this one here for the saying on the front of the card, and I used this one, if I can get it up, I used this one to cut out the gold foil piece for the front. I love these dies. I like swirly, intricate things like this. And then this little die is kind of interesting because it doesn't really cut out design, but if you notice on the back of, well, I guess I didn't bring, oh, I'm sorry, it's on the inside of the card. I was going to do the envelope, but it didn't work out. So on the inside of the card, I put this little die down here at the bottom, and it just kind of cut that little design, and it let the mint macaron show through. So I thought that made it kind of a detail on that card. Again, these are called the Ornate Layers dies. There is a stamp set that goes with it. For the stamp sets, we are going to be using Forever Blossoms, and I used the Always and Forever for the inside sentiment. For the front sentiment, I used Love and Laughter Forever After, and this is in the Forever Fern stamp set. And we will also be using some of these really pretty gold, let me see, what are these called? Gold glitter enamel dots, and they're very pretty. They come in 3 different sizes. We're going to be embellishing our card with that. We're also using some of this ribbon that's got the gold trim on the edges. This is the cream colored, vanilla colored ribbon with the gold trim, which matches our card pretty well. And in your packet, you will have a card base. Of course, you'll have your envelope and your liner for your envelope. You'll have a card base that is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4 like we always do. And then we have a piece of designer series paper. This is again from the Ornate Garden Suite. This measures 3 3/4 by 5. We have a piece of gold foil that this is going to go over, and as you can see, I cut out some shapes and stuff to just save that because it's all going to be covered up. This one is 4 1/4 by 5, and we have the very vanilla piece for the inside, which is 3 3/4 by 5, and we'll have a little strip to do our Love and Laughter Forever After on, and then this is the gold piece for the front. So I think to start off with, we're going to get as much of our stamping done as we can. I have the inside Always and Forever greeting on my Stamparatus. And let me see if I have this. Yep, okay. Again, we're only using one color of ink. We will be stamping that. That turned out pretty well. Then we are done with the stamp apparatus. For the front layer, I'm going to try and stamp this straight because I've already cut it out. Because as I've said, I don't bring my stamp apparatus in here because it's a little bit heavy for me to be carrying around. So, and we'll see if I can get this in this small piece and get it reasonably straight. Whenever you have a longer sentiment like this, you want to make sure you get even pressure on the ends so that it picks up. Oh, that's not too bad. Hey, pretty proud of myself on that. Then for our envelope, what I did is I stamped this saying that says, "Wishing you a long life together filled with love and promise." And I stamped that on the front of that right there. And that's it for our stamping. I'll close up my ink pad. And I think while I have the envelope right here, we will take this envelope liner. I have a die that's years old from Stampin' Up! That lets you do these liners like this. And what I do is I don't put any glue down in this portion because that way your envelope can open and shut a little bit when you're opening it. And we will take just some Stampin' Seal and run across this, and it doesn't, the vellum doesn't really like the Stampin' Seal, but if you're persistent, you can get it to work. And I just kind of line up my line right here just a little bit, not too much. Don't go over the fold line. Get it as straight as I can, and then I just fold this down, take my bone folder and run it over that, and then that way you have a really pretty liner for your envelope. And I know it doesn't show up too well here, but it does make it kind of nice, and it's got that texture to it. And I like to embellish and decorate my envelopes about as much as anything else. Okay, so we have our card base. I've already folded that with the bone folder. Now we're going to take our designer series paper and we're going to put it on the top of this piece right here. So I will just take my Stampin' Seal. I'll bring my gold foil sheet down and try to line it up straight here on my grid paper. And then I will take this and put it on here. I try not to pick it up and move it around too much because your adhesive will mark your foil paper. Okay? Okay. Oops, and I should have put my silicone mat under there because there's a little bit of stickiness on the back of this. So then we're going to take this ribbon, and we're going to hope that I have scissors, and we do, so that's good. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to run some of my Stampin' Seal along this edge and along this edge. And then, as we have done many times before, we will take our ribbon, we will move it over. I'm moving this one over a little bit further because I want to have room for the bow so it doesn't stick over the edge too much. And then I pull this tight, look at it to see if I think it's straight. Hold this end down, wrap it around, and I will trim this off. Okay? And then once we get that done, we can actually put this down on our card front. Again, I'm just using this Stampin' Seal. You can use whatever adhesive you prefer. I will put my card base down. sure my ribbon is on my left-hand side as I'm facing my card. And this one, I think I gave you the wrong measurements on this. This is really 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So you only have a very narrow margin. And actually, I'm not even close to being straight on that. Let's see if I can pull this up since I didn't really burnish it down. Normally, I would use my liquid glue, especially when I don't have a very large margin, but I think I can. Thankfully, as long as you don't burnish this Stamp and Seal, you can pick it up and use it. It'll come up. But once you burnish it down, you're pretty well committed. Okay, now for our gold piece, where did it go? Here it is. We have dimensionals, and I've already put those on there to save a little bit of time. So I backed it with dimensionals. I did quite a few because this is a pretty long focal point that we have here, and I wanted to make sure that it didn't sag in the middle. And I think before I put that down, I will pull out my sheet again, and I'm going to put the greeting on it. And again, for that, I'm just going to use the Stamp and Seal. I'm not sure that I'm filming pretty late at night, so I'm not sure how the lighting on this is going to be. I hope it's not going to be too dark. I was determined to get 2 videos filmed today, and I have fought my computer and my camera for a couple 3 hours, and it's gotten very frustrating, and so I may not get the other one filmed until in the morning. So the nice thing about the silicone sheet, you saw how easily that lifted up. I didn't have to worry about it. So now I'm going to put this on the front, and I'm going to raise it up a little bit. I don't want it quite in the middle because I want to have room for that bow that's going to go down there. So I'm raising it up just a hair above the center point and putting it down. And then for my bow, I am going to just take glue dots to put it down. I'm going to put 2 or 3 on here since this is a little bit of a larger bow than I normally put down with glue dots. I want to make sure it stays. So I just put them really close to the knot and then just center it like we always do. Push that down. Take our scissors. Trim it off. Turn it around, do the other side. And then for the front, we're going to put on some little gold dimensionals, or gold gems, I'm sorry. And what I did is I put, these come in 3 sizes, a bigger one, a medium, and a small one. And I put one of the large ones up at on the green paper. I put a smaller one down here. And again, I'm trying to keep my triangle shape. And then the small one I put in the bottom of the and just to kind of dress that up a little bit. Okay, the only other thing we have to do now is to put on our greeting, our sentiment for the inside. I'm going to use the Stamp and Seal on the top and the sides, but on the bottom, since I have this intricate cutout, I'm going to use my green cap glue, say that fast 3 times, not too easy, and put it on the bottom just so that the bottom is adhered down really well. And again, I will line this up on my grid paper. Try and get it on so I can get this on straight. This is a smaller piece, so you'll have a little bit wider border than normal. This is 3 3/4 by 5. Again, all of the measurements, all the products that I used will be on my blog post that will accompany this video. So that is it for the card today. Here's the one I made originally. Here is the one from today, along with the envelope. And this is the one that I received and kind of patterned my design after. So I hope you enjoyed the card. I will be back on Friday with a masculine birthday card. It's very quick, very simple, and but I really like the way it turned out. So you all have a great evening, and I'll see you soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.